Five John's sons, four of them were captured by the Indians. Their ages were 3 to at least 10, maybe 11. The Indians wanted to bring them to Canada. Well, they stole the kids, and the first one was the baby, got bopped on the head because he couldn't keep up. That made the white man mad, so they shot at the Indian, killed an Indian. The Indian got mad, stabbed the next kid in line, and threw him off the bridge. The third child, they don't know what happened to. But Joseph, he went to Canada, had godparents. They couldn't even understand the words to sign the papers. So out of the kindness of the, okay, what's this one, Charlie? Abenaki? Abenaki, thank you, Indians signed for him to come home. So the Indian that stole him was the same Indian that let him go and signed the papers for him to go after he was naturalized in 1710. Then we go on, and Dependence had a son named Joseph. He was born 1712, and he married and had a daughter named Mary. Mary married Dependence's son, Isaac, which makes them first cousins, and they got married. We have a line in Limerick, Leamington, Blue Hill, Castine, and you can pick all the way you want to go because that's where it is.
Intermarriage at that time was a common practice.
Well, it must have been pretty common
In
for
England,
us.
at that time, in that area in England, intermarriage amongst cousins was a common practice. Still is today.
Who else was you going to meet?
First-
The only time you got to meet people is when you got together for a family reunion. And hey, you
No, you had to keep warm because most people were born in the winter months, and they didn't have anything to
I thought they
shelter
were
their home.
conceived in the winter months.
It
Hey,
depends.
Peter and I and Mike were conceived
Hey,
in the winter months. I asked Ma what she was doing. She told me to mind my own business.
Would you like to have an ancestor that you know lived and died, and they've existed for almost 300 years and they still have no parents? That's kind of hard to find. We have many of them in our tree.
Yeah.
We are all brothers and sisters, the sons and daughters of the American War.
American Revolution.
Right. Well, there is many parts to the American Revolution. Everybody thinks the American Revolution was just one factor. No. Did you fight in the American Revolution? They'd be going, too. No. Dependents fought in 1758 to 1765, the Ticonderoga War was the first American Revolutionary War. Was 5'7", tall, dark complexion. He served in Captain Preble's army, and he fought at Fishkill, New York in 1768. I have the dates and the months. They kind of seem to float in my head. That's where they all are lately. And then again, he fought again in 1777 when we handed over to the British. Because Americans, we just weren't made of anything. We had old tattered clothes. We had to get the militia. We had long coats, but see, we had to cut them short because you had to go through the woods. And they fought with muskets and guns. And the Americans didn't have too many casualties, but the British and the French and
You're not related to the British and the French, so get back to the track.
well, that is the track. Yeah.
It's all right, and we know where you are.
So as time goes on, all of Harpswell, John's son John, 1709, cut the wilderness from York, Maine to Harpswell, Maine, which is the main road. He cut every inch of that wilderness with his family and others, the Baileys, the Orrs, and the Merrymen, to come to Harpswell. One of his sons' daughters married into the Stover line, a direct line from Dependence and John. They made a cut cross right around the two. So there's first generation again. And then later on, down the line, his son had a daughter, John's son had a daughter, and she married a Hutchins, and the Hutchins are the Ally family, and they married right back into the Stovers line of Boothbay. So we have some pretty tainted blood, I would safely say. Not once, not twice, but 3 times around. So I brought something that everybody could see, if I can find it. Now I won't be able to find it. We have a fish for our family. And the fish has Dependence on the top, it has John on the bottom, and the link that goes the total Stover line up till Joseph 1712. It's all blood Stover. Okay, and then it comes again, the line follows down with John, and then the young girl, she married into a Hutchins, and it run right into our line with dependent 1764, which is dependent 1735's son. I got you lost already?
I know where you are.
And we can't leave George out, the one that takes us to Blue Hill. So we have Blue Hill, Castine,
Yep.
Harpswell, York, Portland, Augusta, you name it, we've been it, and then some.
Madison, Booth Bay Harbor.
Right. Aunt Bev was asking me where her family came from. When Dependent 1735 came and fought in the Revolutionary War, he moved to Madison, Industry, which is now known as Unity or New Sharon, and he started a family. And Dependence 1764, which is the first Stover to come from York to Booth Bay. Okay? And he and Dependence had a son named Ebenezer. Ebenezer is also known as Samuel, which is news to me. He could have been Samuel Ebenezer Stover because no name before 1800 had a middle name. If you found a middle name for a woman, it was because that was her maiden name. Right, thank you. So you come from a line of fishermen, and you've seen a picture of Elbridge. He is definitely a Stover with big hands. How many of us have big hands? If you have a Stover hand, you've got really big hands, and I'll pass the picture around. So we have fishermen.
You know what they say about big hands?
What's that?
I got the feet to boot. Big gloves, right.
Right, yeah.
Got the mouth too.
Yeah.
Oh.
The little burger.
Yeah.
The little burger. The little burger.
William Stover.
Jared-
William Stover was the first English male child born on the island of Castine.
Only because he came from George's side of the family. He was the first white.
English male child born on the island of
He
Castine.
was born in 1761. He was not buried in a cemetery. Can you tell me why?
Is he the one that's buried out near Tapley's Corner?
Yes, he is. Now tell me why.
There is- In the Old English Church, and what we surmise from our surmising in our research is
Casting
he
area.
wasn't buried at a cemetery.
Because
In the Old English Church, if you committed suicide, you could not be buried in sanctified ground. He was buried at a place
okay.
near Tapley's Corner
There is an older gentleman that I know of.
that was known where another woman was buried who had supposedly committed suicide. And that's what our research suggests, that it was
One minute,
because he
Ed.
had committed suicide, he could not be buried in a